The heavy oak doors of the Los Angeles courthouse creaked open as Kid Cudi stepped inside, his casual attire a stark contrast to the formal tension that permeated the room. Cameras flashed, reporters murmured, and industry executives glanced around nervously. The high-profile trial against Sean Diddy Combs had drawn a spotlight unlike any other, and Cudi's presence only heightened the stakes. As he took his place on the witness stand, the courtroom fell silent, all eyes fixed on him. The gravity of what he was about to reveal hung in the air like a storm ready to break. Kid Cudi began his testimony with a recounting of the harrowing events that had forced him into this public battle. He spoke of a chilling phone call, a warning that Diddy was at his house, an intrusion that sent waves of panic through his mind. Despite the unnerving violation, Cudi recounted with a somber tone how his personal belongings remained untouched, a sinister message clearly intended to instill fear rather than theft. His voice cracked slightly as he described his worry for his dog, a loyal companion caught in the crossfire. This small detail illuminated the profound vulnerability he felt, not just for himself but for those he cared about. The tension escalated as Cudi narrated the aftermath, the devastating discovery that his car had been destroyed in a fiery explosion, a Molotov cocktail reducing his prized Porsche to charred ruins. This act of violence was no accident but a calculated escalation in an ongoing conflict. With each detail, the courtroom absorbed the unfolding drama, the emotional toll, the fear, the sense of betrayal by someone once close. Yet amidst the chaos, Cudi maintained a composed determination. He spoke of the necessity to increase security measures, altering his lifestyle to safeguard himself in a world suddenly fraught with danger. As the testimony progressed, Cudi recounted a tense, high-stakes meeting with Diddy at a neutral, upscale location. The air between them was thick with unresolved anger and accusations, a clash fueled by tangled personal relationships, notably involving Cassie Ventura. He recalled how emotions ran high, and harsh words were exchanged, laying bare the fractured bonds and simmering resentment. But the courtroom was not only captivated by conflict, it also bore witness to Cudi's haunted memories, the shadowy figure near his gate, the guilt and paranoia provoked by an anonymous photo of his burned car. Preparing for the trial had been a secretive and painstaking process. Cudi described compiling texts, videos, and other evidence, ensuring his story was backed by irrefutable proof. His testimony culminated with an account of a terrifying phone call from a woman forced into his car, a chilling indication of the chaos and danger that had engulfed his life. He revealed that fear, for himself and for Cassie, had driven his painful decision to end the relationship. As the judge listened intently, the courtroom buzzed with a mixture of shock and empathy. Kid Cudi's story was not just a personal narrative but a window into the dark undercurrents swirling beneath the glitz of the entertainment industry. The day's session ended with a heavy silence, the audience left to contemplate the courage it took to speak these truths aloud. The courtroom was alive with anticipation as Kid Cudi prepared to recount the pivotal confrontation that had forever altered the course of his life. The air was thick with tension, a palpable mix of curiosity and unease from jurors, legal teams, and onlookers alike. Cudi's voice began steady, yet carried the emotional weight of the encounter as he painted the setting, a sleek, upscale lounge chosen for its neutrality and discretion. The surroundings were a stark contrast to the storm brewing between two men whose histories were as tangled as they were volatile. He described the moment Diddy arrived, the air immediately crackling with unspoken accusations and simmering anger. The conversation, initially restrained, quickly spiraled into a heated exchange, a clash of pride, pain, and unresolved conflicts. As Cudi spoke, the courtroom visualized the scene, Diddy's commanding presence, sharp words exchanged like weapons, and the emotional rawness laid bare between them. Cudi's narration was punctuated by vivid memories, the clench of fists, the piercing stares, and the heavy silence that followed each pointed remark. He delved into the complexity of their shared connection through Cassie Ventura, the emotional turmoil heightened by jealousy, fear, and mistrust. The courtroom felt the strain of these interpersonal dynamics as Cudi revealed how personal grievances intertwined with professional power plays. The testimony turned introspective as Cudi reflected on the psychological toll, the anxiety that shadowed him, the sleepless nights filled with uncertainty, and the growing resolve to reclaim control over his life. Despite the anger and tension, the meeting marked a reluctant turning point. Cudi acknowledged the necessity of facing Diddy, confronting the danger head-on rather than retreating into silence. His words resonated with determination, a vow to protect himself and those he cared for, and to expose the truth no matter the cost. As Cudi's narrative unfolded, the courtroom was silent but captivated, a collective breath held in recognition of the courage it took to step into the light and speak these hard truths. The judge nodded subtly, signaling the gravity of the testimony, while the jury absorbed every detail, aware that this moment was a crucial thread in the tapestry of the case. The atmosphere in the courtroom was thick with tension as Kid Cudi began to unfold one of the most chilling episodes of his ordeal, the arson attack that shattered his sense of security. His voice was steady but laced with the weight of fear and betrayal that had haunted him ever since. He described the night with vivid clarity, the eerie silence punctuated only by distant city sounds, the flickering streetlights casting long shadows over the driveway of his home. It was then that he noticed a figure lurking near his gate, a silhouette that refused to be ignored. Although no proof directly linked the figure to Sean Diddy Combs, the timing and circumstances left little doubt in Cudi's mind. His recounting took a darker turn as he detailed the day he received a mysterious photo. The image was stark and devastating, his sleek Porsche engulfed in roaring flames, twisted metal melting under a fiery blaze. The photograph was a brutal reminder that the threats were not empty, they were real, tangible, and dangerously close. Cudi shared the emotional turmoil that followed, the night spent awake, haunted by paranoia and guilt. Every unfamiliar noise outside his window became a potential warning, every unexpected visitor stirred anxiety. His sanctuary had been invaded, leaving him feeling exposed and vulnerable. He spoke of the long hours spent compiling evidence, working quietly and meticulously with his legal team. Texts, videos, phone logs, all assembled to build a fortress of truth in a battle where deception was the enemy. A particularly tense moment came when Cudi described a phone call from a close friend, an urgent warning that signaled impending danger. The call was a stark reminder that he was no longer safe, that the web of threats was tightening. Throughout his testimony, Cudi's emotions surfaced, moments of anger, sorrow, and resolve. He reflected on the cost of bravery, the toll it took on his mental health and personal relationships. Yet amidst the darkness, his voice conveyed determination. This was his story, his fight for justice and peace, and he would not be silenced. The courtroom sat in rapt attention, the gravity of his experiences resonating deeply with everyone present. The courtroom held its breath as Kid Cudi continued, his voice steady but heavy with the weight of pain and resilience. He spoke of the deep emotional wounds inflicted by the events that had unfolded, wounds that were not easily seen but cut just as deeply. He described the invasion of his home as more than a mere physical breach. It was an assault on his peace of mind, a violation of the sanctuary he had built amid the chaos of his life. The break-in shattered his sense of security, leaving behind a residue of fear that clung to him. Cudi recounted how he had to fortify his life in response, installing new locks, security systems, and enlisting trusted guards. These measures, while necessary, served as constant reminders of the danger that lurked just beyond the walls. Amidst these preparations, Cudi shared a haunting memory, a desperate phone call from a woman trapped in his car, a plea for help that resonated as a symbol of the broader turmoil engulfing his personal life. The experience underscored the perilous intersection of love, control, and survival. He revealed how the relentless pressure forced him to make a heart-rending choice, to end the relationship with Cassie Ventura. It was a decision born of fear and the urgent need to protect both himself and those he cared for. The courtroom was silent, absorbing the raw honesty of his confession. The layers of emotion peeled back, revealing the complexity of a love entangled with danger. Cudi reflected on the toll, the sleepless nights, the anxiety that followed him, and the fragile hope for a safer future. His testimony was a testament to courage, the courage to confront pain, to seek truth, and to reclaim control in the face of overwhelming adversity. As he finished, a palpable shift swept through the room. The narrative had moved beyond facts to the very heart of human experience, fear, love, loss, and the fight for survival. The intensity of the trial escalated as new evidence was presented, shaking the foundations of Sean Diddy Combs' empire. Kid Cudi stepped forward, unveiling a trove of texts, videos, and messages meticulously collected to substantiate his claims. The courtroom was rife with tension as the defense team scrambled to counter the mounting evidence. Their attempts to undermine Cudi's credibility grew more desperate, but the weight of truth was undeniable. Major record labels and industry executives watched with bated breath, as the trial's implications rippled beyond the courtroom walls, threatening to upend long-standing power structures. Celebrities distanced themselves cautiously, deleting posts and severing ties, wary of being implicated in the growing scandal. Outside, activists and supporters gathered, their voices rising in unison, demanding justice and accountability. Social media buzzed with hashtags and stories that fueled a movement for change. The courtroom battles grew fiercer, but the momentum clearly favored those seeking transparency and reform. The trial had transformed from a legal proceeding into a cultural reckoning, a battle for the soul of an industry long cloaked in silence. The courtroom hummed with a tension that was almost electric, as Kid Cudi's revelations began to reverberate far beyond the wood-paneled walls. Inside, the defense pushed back with all their might, casting aspersions on Cudi's motives and attempting to fracture his credibility. Yet the evidence he presented, texts, videos, and detailed accounts, painted a compelling picture that was hard to ignore. Behind the scenes, the entertainment industry was in turmoil. Major record labels held emergency meetings, scrambling to reassess contracts and public relations strategies. The scandal threatened to dismantle alliances and expose decades of unchecked power. High-profile celebrities began distancing themselves, quietly removing endorsements, deleting social media posts, and avoiding public association with Sean Diddy Combs. The power dynamics that had long protected the elite were beginning to unravel. Meanwhile, outside the courthouse, a growing movement rallied behind Cudi's courage. Activists, survivors, and allies flooded social media with stories, support, and calls for systemic reform. Hashtags demanding accountability trended globally, fueling a wave of awareness and advocacy. Inside the courtroom, the battle lines were drawn clearer than ever. The defense's attacks grew more frantic but less effective against the mounting tide of truth and public support. The trial had transcended its legal bounds, becoming a symbol of a broader struggle, a fight for transparency, justice, and the dismantling of toxic power structures. The final day of the trial arrived under a veil of solemn anticipation. The courtroom was packed, every face etched with the gravity of the moment. Jurors, lawyers, media, and supporters all knew this was the culmination of months of painstaking testimony, evidence, and emotion. Kid Cudi took the stand one last time, delivering a closing statement that echoed with conviction and heartfelt resolve. He spoke not only for himself but as a voice for the countless others silenced by fear and intimidation. This is more than a trial about one man, Cudi declared. It's about breaking the chains of silence and reclaiming our power to speak our truths. The prosecution and defense presented their final arguments, each imploring the jury to see the case through their lens. The courtroom was thick with tension as the jury retired to deliberate. Outside, the world watched with bated breath, the verdict poised to send ripples far beyond the courthouse. The jury filed back into the courtroom, faces marked by focus and contemplation. The judge's voice cut through the tense silence as he prepared to deliver the verdict that would conclude a saga filled with pain, courage, and a fight for justice. Kid Cudi sat with a calm resolve, his journey of resilience and truth culminating in this pivotal moment. He had bared his soul, exposed dark secrets, and challenged a system built on fear and control. As the verdict was announced, the courtroom erupted in a complex symphony of reactions, tears of relief, stunned silence, and whispered conversations. The weight of the decision reverberated through every person present. Outside, supporters and activists gathered, their cheers and chants echoing a collective demand for change and accountability. The trial had become a landmark moment, inspiring voices to rise and refusing to let silence prevail. In the aftermath, the entertainment industry faced a reckoning. Contracts were revisited, policies rewritten, and conversations about power, abuse, and responsibility became unavoidable. Kid Cudi's testimony stood as a beacon, a testament to courage, truth, and the enduring fight to reclaim agency in a world too often marked by oppression. Though the trial had ended, the movement it sparked was only beginning.